Okay, so I'm Russ. This is Couch to 40K. I am getting these last couple minis glued together in just a sec here. Why the orc? I want to take a couple minutes to talk about picking a faction. I need to learn the terms. Is faction the right word? When I started thinking about this, honestly, orcs is not a hard decision for me. Because I like painting green. I like the orc aesthetic. Ideally, I want to do some like kit bashy kind of stuff. If I ever get, I don't have bits. Like I don't know if I have it here. I've got like a smidge of bits. And they're all fantasy. So, and I'm a terrible sculptor. I've tried some green stuff, and it's bad. But like, I feel like with orcs, I can get away with it being bad because it's orcs. Like orc terrain, like I'm pretty decent with terrain. Wrong shoulder. That house, still wrong shoulder. That house, I made that house. I'm pretty proud of that house that I made. And like other stuff, I've got like, whatever. I'm decent at terrain. I want to, make some orky terrain might be fun. But I was thinking, like, one of the first things that I was thinking was, as I was like deciding on my first 2 combat patrols, I was thinking like, well, how do they play? Do I want like an army that's like a horde army, or a specialist army? Do I want an army that's got like? Do I want to play like an army that's got? Because let's be honest, like I'm getting a combat patrol box, but I am thinking about an army, like building it out, like as a full thing, whether I get there or not. Like, it is an investment. I don't want to buy a combat patrol and be like, yeah, I do want to keep going, but I don't want to keep going with these guys. That's just a waste, right? So what you want to make the right decision. And I was getting tied up in a lot of thoughts about play style. And one of the things that I have to remind myself, and I am constantly reminding myself, is that this is the game. This is gonna be 90% of the game for me, is building, painting. That's where all the time goes. If I do get more than 3 games of this together, that would be great. But even if I do get more than 3 games of this together, it's most of the time that I spend on this is going to be building and painting and crafting, and I want to pick we need to pick an army that we want to build and paint. That's what's most important. And then it doesn't matter if Games Workshop nerfs them in the new edition, or the codex comes out and they're unplayable, or they get removed from the game entirely, because it's about even the playing is a hobby, but it's about, I think a lot of times we say the hobby, we mean like the building and the painting and the, that's what's most important. So that needs to be the focus. So I need to not worry too much about anything other than, like, is that going to be fun to make and paint and work with? And I like orcs, so that's why I decided to go with orcs first. I like the aesthetic. So, like, and orcs was easy for a lot of reasons, but then there's like a second, because I'm gonna do 2 combat patrols. So that I can play a game in my basement, because I don't know anybody else who's playing. So who's the second? And that's honestly where a lot of this sort of like, well, looking at like play styles and blah, blah, blah. And I mentioned in the previous video, like a long time ago, I made Dark Angels, red and black. Maybe I should go back to Dark Angels. Dark Angels are all the rage, right? Like, but do I want to like do the army that's all the rage? And I think this is probably going to be a running theme, a reminder to myself, and possibly to you who's watching this, if you're out there. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about what the meta is, as they say. Don't worry about let's be positive. Worry about, think about, go for what's interesting and exciting to you, to me, in the moment. I'm kind of thinking that I might do Votan for my second box in the far off future. I like the way that they look. I like that there are ladies models. I don't want to do, like, it makes sense that there's no lady orcs because there's no boy orcs. They're fungus. They're mushroom dudes. Oh, I'm gonna glue some mushrooms on some of these guys. Yeah. I have fantasy bits, and I made some goblin guys that came with mushrooms, and I have some left over. I think I'm gonna put some on these guys. Like, I want to do, and I like they are chunky, blocky models, but like rounded. I like the aesthetic. I like the way that they look. And I like some of the story, the meta. No, not the meta, the lore. The lore. I like some of the lore around them. The judgy, right? That's kind of fun. And they don't get along with orcs at all, so it's like a good matchup, right? If I'm gonna do there's all kinds of reasons for them to be fighting. So I think that's probably the second when I get there. That is way down the road. But it is a better talking point for making the decision because orcs was almost too easy. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine, we were text chatting about the old days in Warhammer, and he said, like, well, if you were to like play, what would you play? And it was like, orcs. Immediately. Orcs. But the second was like a little bit more of a decision. I don't know, what do you think, you out there on the internet? Who are you thinking about building up and why? Because like, part of me is like, well, maybe I'll just do, like, maybe I won't go super far, or maybe I'll like one of the hesitations for starting 40K is getting boxed in, right? Like, I liked doing the Warcry thing because I would do a set of like 10 guys, painting hands, set them aside, another 10, different, not even 10, 8, whatever. Look different aesthetic, different colors, like different, just all different stuff. Variety. But like with Warhammer, like you do an army and then you're painting like 30, 40 guys, painting mans. That's what I call them around here, painting mans. Like all the same, same colors, the same aesthetic. So, and I mean, maybe you can do like a little, and I might like, well, these ones are this squad, so they're a little different or whatever, but still they're all basically the same. But like, so like you start a second, right? And then I'm going to need some variety in here if I'm going to, so maybe I do like some combat patrols more than just the two, so that I've got like, hey, do you want to play combat patrol? Pick your army. But again, like I can't, that's like way out in the future, and that's not something that I can count on, right? Because how many games of Warcry have I played? Very few. The answer is, if you didn't watch the first video, it's very few. Go watch the first video, because I've recorded it like 40 times. I'm not doing that anymore. These are going to be rough. The cinematography is going to be bad. I'm going to ramble. I'm going to get off topic. That's just how it's going to be. But I hope you'll come along with me. And like, tell me what you think and give me some advice. And also like give advice to the other folks who are starting out, who are watching these videos. Maybe this channel becomes useful to people. Okay, I'm going to finish gluing this guy together. And then the next one, and then I'm going to do some painting. Let's do this.